everyone in the house called her the maid. She cooked the food, she washed the clothes, she cleaned every room in silence. But what nobody knew, not even the girl she secretly loved more than life itself, was that the maid was actually the girl's real mother. And the day the truth came out, the entire house turned upside down. Amara had lived in the big white mansion since she was 5 years old. The house was beautiful. It had tall gates, shiny floors, and expensive furniture that guests always admired. But for Amara, the house never felt warm. Her father, Chief Adewale, was always busy with business. Her stepmother, Madame Vivian, cared more about her reputation than anything else. The only person who ever treated Amara with real kindness was the maid, Grace. Grace had worked in the house for many years. Nobody knew exactly when she started working there. She was quiet. She never argued. She always kept her head down. But whenever Amara was sad, Grace was always the first to notice. "Are you all right, my dear?" she would ask softly. Amara often wondered why Grace cared so much about her. Sometimes, Grace looked at her with strange eyes filled with love and sadness. Amara never understood why, until one night, the night everything changed. It was a stormy evening. Rain poured heavily outside, hitting the roof like thousands of tiny drums. Lightning flashed across the sky. Inside the mansion, the power suddenly went out. The house fell into darkness. Amara was sitting in her room when she heard voices downstairs, her stepmother's voice and her father's. Curious, she quietly walked down the staircase. The living room was dimly lit by candles. Her father stood near the window. Vivian stood beside him, clearly angry. "I am tired of that woman," Vivian said sharply. Amara froze on the staircase. They were talking about someone. "Lower your voice," her father warned. "I will not," Vivian snapped. "Why is she still in this house?" There was a moment of silence. Then her father said something that made Amara's heart stop. "Because she is Amara's mother." Amara felt like the world had suddenly stopped moving. Her mother? But her mother had died years ago. That was the story she had always been told. "Don't say that again," Vivian whispered angrily. "You promised we would never talk about it." Amara's hands trembled. Her breathing became heavy. Her mind raced with confusion. Were they talking about Grace? The maid? Her father sighed. "She gave birth to Amara," he said quietly, "but she agreed to stay here as a maid so Vivian could raise the child." Amara covered her mouth to stop herself from gasping. Everything suddenly made sense. The way Grace always protected her, the way she watched her from a distance, the way her eyes filled with tears whenever Amara was hurt. Grace wasn't just the maid. Grace was her mother. Suddenly, the floor creaked under Amara's feet. The voices stopped. "Who is there?" Vivian shouted. Amara ran. Her heart beat wildly as she rushed back to her room. She locked the door and leaned against it, shaking. Her entire life felt like a lie. The next morning, Amara walked into the kitchen slowly. Grace was standing near the stove, stirring a pot of soup, just like every other day. She turned and smiled warmly. "Good morning, Amara." But this time, Amara didn't see a maid. She saw her mother, her real mother. Grace noticed the strange look in Amara's eyes. "What is wrong?" she asked gently. Amara's voice trembled. "I heard everything last night." Grace froze. The spoon slipped from her hand and fell to the floor. The kitchen became completely silent. Tears slowly filled Grace's eyes. "You know," she whispered. Amara nodded. "Yes." For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Grace slowly stepped back. Fear filled her face. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I never wanted you to find out like this." Amara felt tears building in her own eyes. "Why?" she asked. "Why did you pretend to be a maid?" Grace wiped her tears slowly. "Because it was the only way I could stay close to you." She sat down on a chair. Her voice was full of pain. "Many years ago, your father was a poor man," she explained. "We loved each other very much." Her eyes looked distant, as if remembering the past. But when Vivian came into our life, everything changed. Her family was rich and powerful. They promised to help your father become successful, but only if he married her. Amara's heart tightened. "So he left you?" she asked. Grace nodded slowly. "Yes. But I was already pregnant with you." Amara felt tears roll down her cheeks. Grace continued. "When Vivian found out, she became furious. She said the child could stay in the house, but only if I never told the truth, and only if I worked as a maid." Amara couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You agreed to that?" she asked. Grace smiled sadly. "I would do anything for you. I just wanted to watch you grow." Suddenly, Amara ran forward and hugged her tightly. Grace gasped in surprise. For years she had dreamed of this moment, and now it was finally happening. "My mother," Amara whispered. Grace held her daughter tightly, crying softly. But their moment didn't last long. Suddenly, a voice came from the doorway. Well, well, what a touching reunion. They turned around. Vivian was standing there. Her face was filled with anger. "So the truth is finally out," she said coldly. Grace stood up quickly. "Madam, please." "Enough," Vivian shouted. She pointed toward the door. "You are fired." Grace's face turned pale. But before she could say anything, Amara stepped forward. "No." Vivian frowned. "What did you say?" Amara lifted her chin. "She is not leaving." Vivian laughed mockingly. "This is my house." "No," Amara said firmly. "She is my mother." For the first time, Vivian had no words. And from that moment on, the secrets that had been hidden for 15 years started to destroy the lies inside that house.